Hello, everyone. It's great to have you all on board. It's another time with Tutor IO, the entity 632. And in today's tutorial, it happens to be the very continuation of the course HED313. It's been an interesting one. It's a course that has a lot to do with health. All right. And so far, so good. We've been talking about health. All right. And today, continuing on the said topic, we're going to be talking about the attitude and behavior. All right, the attitude and behavior. All right, health related attitude and behavior. All right, so now when we talk about health related behavior, all right, what are we simply referring to? Related behavior. All right, what are we simply referring to? What we're saying here is that when it comes to health related behaviors, healthy people are those who try to maintain their health, all right? They maintain their health and they are considered to be behavioral related to what? Disease protections or preventions. Are behaviors. When we talk about health related behavior, we're simply referring to those behavioral, all right, attitude or action related to disease prevention. All right, behaviors related to disease prevention. That should be disease prevention. All right. Now we can also refer to this as behaviors that are intentional about the maintenance of health. All right, behaviors intentional about the maintenance of health. Okay, behaviors intentional about maintenance of health. Now we have that as that. Now, this attitude and behaviors during health are actions that health professionals take to keep them others healthy and prevent diseases or diagnose illnesses. Are we together? When there are no symptoms, health behavior has been conceived as a preventive health practice. All right, we can refer to this as a preventive. Are we together? Preventive health practice. When you talk of health related behaviors, these are behaviors that are intentional about taking preventive health practices. All right. You know fully well that when you expose yourself to mosquitoes, mosquito bites, you are prone to malaria. When you are when you expose yourself to drinking dirty or unclean water, you are prone to typhoid. So therefore, all you need to do is to protect yourself from all these symptoms so you don't fall sick. Okay? So we have that as that. Now, let's take a step further. Are we together? Now, there are three defenses against diseases and illness policies. Three defenses. All right. But according to what we have here, we only have primary and secondary. All right. I don't really get where it says the three defensive are. All right. But what we need to understand here that when we talk about prevention against illnesses and diseases, all right, they are basically primary and secondary means to this. Now, the primary disease prevention, all right, that's preventive actions. Now, speaking of preventive health practice, we have two. We have primary and we have secondary. Okay. Now for primary, what do we have under primary? For primary, we have prevention. Primary disease prevention include protection and prevention activities such as health education. You know, one thing you need to understand that in this life, ignorance is a big disease. Ignorance, a very big disease. And it has anything that has to do with your life, all right? You will be held responsible for every decision you make. So, therefore, something as important as your health, it is very essential that you educate yourself. All right. And what do we mean by educate yourself? Anything you don't know, you need to begin to ask questions. And when it comes to asking of questions, don't ask the wrong people. All right. When it comes to health, when you begin to cross age like 40, when you begin to cross age like 35 years old, you need to begin to think about having a doctor, all right, having a particular hospital you go to maybe 3 times in a year, or maybe I don't. It all depends on your capacity. All right, but at least you need a physician that you can always go to for checkup. It's very important. Health wise, you need to educate yourself. All right, you need to educate yourself. So under the preventive health practice, we have two. All right, practices which are primary and secondary. So for the primary, we have health education, which has to do with you educating yourself health wise. Okay, it doesn't end there, it's just one among other things. So we have health education, all right. Also, we have, okay, good nutrition. All this still falls under health education, all right. When you know what you need to know, when you have access to the right information about your health, all right, you begin to find out what you should eat, all right, the certain food you need to stay away from, the kind of food you need to eat, the kind of food you need to stay away from at certain age and stage of your life. Then you talk about immunization, you talk about personal hygiene and hygienic facilities. All these things still boils down to you being knowledgeable health wise. Okay, that is for the first one. And we have the second one, which is secondary protection. All right. Here we are talking about health maintenance. Now you know. So you begin to think of health maintenance. What are the potential, all right, the potential for ill health and related measures to stop diseases process and restore health. All right. So now it's more of management. So we have health management. The first one is health education, and the second one is health management. So we have that as that. Now let's take a step further. Health, behavior, and changes. We talked about this in our last class, where we said your health is not fixed, is not static. It changes from time to time. All right, we're just being brought back to what we discussed yesterday again, where it said health, behavior, and changes. So now let's just take a step further. Let's talk about the attitude and behavior. All right. Still on the attitude. Then we talked about the health related behavior. Now let's be particular and intentional about the attitude. Now, when we speak of attitude and behavior during time of health, we have the likes of life building skills. All right. It still boils down to health education. There are certain skills you must be able to build that will also take a tool that will tell on how well you will be healthy. Now, under life building skills, we have the likes of self esteem. All right. This is perceived as self worth and self confidence of the person. It is the driving force behind most, all right, the driving force behind most, if not all, our actions. Actions like feelings, thinking, engagement with others. All right. Your self-esteem also determines whether you are going to be a smoker or you are going to be an alcohol addict. All right. Just like I've been told now that you need to what? It's your self-esteem has to do with your self-worth. All right. If you do not educate yourself, if you're not intentional or deliberate about what you take into yourself, all right, it's going to kill it's going to cause a lot of damages. And if care is not taken, you might be sent to your early grave. So some of the life building skill is self-esteem, which goes a long way in determining who you are. All right. So we have self-esteem under life building skills. So let's take a step further. So under this, we still have self-efficacy. All right. It's a person's belief and the ability to succeed. All right. Having gotten this knowledge about certain things you need to know about your health. All right. The efficacy then set forth. All right. It's a different thing that you believe in this. It's another thing that you choose to practice what you believe in. All right. There's something called head knowledge. Head knowledge is as good as head knowledge. All right. It's not more than that. All right. But it becomes way better. It becomes all right, very useful and helpful when this head knowledge is being put into practice. Now, you might know that yes, it's not good to smoke as a smoker, or you know that yes, it's not okay to drink as a alcohol addict, but you know these things, but you don't practice it. So it's basically just an head knowledge, all right, but not until you begin to practice it, then it will now fail on your health and you now see the differences. So we're going to call it wrap here for today. It's not going to be a long one. We apologize for that. We could have started this class long ago before now, but some technical issue here and there. So we just have to do this very short. So in our next class, we'll take it up from diseases. I got an assignment yesterday. I have not gotten the assignment. Miss Agnes, are you on this stream? You do well to submit your assignment before our next class. So from our next class, we'll be talking about diseases. We have been talking about health. We talked about the importance. We're talking about health from different angles of professionals and different um, health body. We've also talked about health, behavior, and attitude. All right. So from next class, we'll be talking about diseases. Thank you very much. For those of us who have not joined the private class yet, let's ensure to do that. Reach out to us on our official website, which is www.tutorial.net, and send us a direct message using the WhatsApp button in the top right hand corner. Do have a wonderful evening and bye for now.